Welcome everyone to the Doc Chat. I'm your man, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT, and I'm telling you, we got a hard-hitting lineup right here. Could this be the Yankees? Could it be San Francisco Giants? All I know is we're about to hit some home runs with these great doctors here, and we're about to go ahead and let y'all know, hey, if you are here checking us out, make sure you holler at us in the comments. If you're a doctor, let us know what doctor program you graduated from, what program that you did, what your dissertation type, all those things, doctor. We want to know about all those things because you are on the Doc Chat, and we love to have all of our fans here today. So we want to go ahead and do round robin, introduce these great doctor parents. They did something incredible. They got their doctorate done with kids, spouses, and all kind of other stuff. Let me tell you, when we pre-gamed, they were telling me some other stuff they was doing too. You about to find out that today. So we're gonna go ahead and start out with introductions. We're gonna start with Dr. Make sure I get it right. Anika Ayana James. We're gonna start with her. I hope I got that right. Boy, that is one unique and beautiful name. You are on the Doc Chat. Introduce yourself. Welcome onto the show.
Thank you for having me. I've watched your show. I am thoroughly amazed by what you're doing on this platform and couldn't wait to be a part of it. As you guys know, my name is Anika Ayana James, Dr. Ayana James. They know me as the narrative doctor. My background is in narrative and understanding narrative and what that plays in today's society. So I'm a big proponent of that. Like he said, I am a mother of five. We are a blended family blend, so three biologically mine and two biologically my spouse's. We have a house full of teenagers and young adult male who does not live home, but we are still parents the same. Yes, I did do this while attaining a doctorate, being a wife, a mother. I am active duty military and so much more, but we will definitely dive into that as we go on with the show.
All right. We appreciate you. Appreciate you. Go to my frat, my Kappa brother, Dr. Don Rich Young. You're on the Doc Chat. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, my brother.
Dr. Turner, I appreciate you, and I appreciate the work you're doing. Continue to do it. It's a fabulous platform. There are individuals in their programs that need to hear some of the things that your guests are going to say and have said. I joined in and heard your show 2 weeks ago, and I was hooked. So I love the work you're doing, brother. I really appreciate it. But my name is Dr. Don Rich Young. I am Texas born, Maryland raised, and I've called Metro Atlanta, Georgia home for the last 15 years. By profession, I'm actually a senior special agent with the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So I've been a federal agent for 23 years and about two more to go until retirement, and really jumping into why I went back to school to get my doctorate and to use those skills in that program and everything I gained and learned in that next chapter of my life. Really something that's going to impact young people in academia, young people of color, our next wave of leaders, our next great politician, our next great federal agent, our next great instructor, our next great doctor. They need to hear what we have to say, and there's a knowledge transfer that must occur in our community for us to have vitality and really reach peak performance as a people. So I hope to have something to do with that in my next stead, in my next realm. I am a proud graduate of Southeastern University, a private Christian university in Lakeland, Florida, is where I did my doctoral work. And we'll talk about the story of that journey, how we got there. But yes, we did have a baby during the pandemic. My wife and I had nothing better to do with our time than have a baby at the beginning of the pandemic. So God blessed us and anointed some things and put them in the atmosphere during a time. And I'll go back to this real quick, just to tell you how God works. eight or 9 months prior, maybe a year prior to my son being born. I was struggling in my program. It was pre-pandemic. Wasn't really sure where things were going to go. And I had a dream one night that I'd be walking across that stage with a lap baby. My son was 5 months old when I walked
Wow.
across the stage.
Wow.
So he does provide, he promises, and he is a promise keeper.
That's amazing. That's amazing right there. I'm telling you, we're about to jump into it, folks. If you are checking us out, make sure you let us know in the comments that you are here viewing the doc chat. I'm going to go to our last doctor. Oh, the island woman. Let me check. I got Jamaica and I got the Bahamas on. The
We
Bahamas.
have to represent.
Oh, yes, Dr. Michelle Rencher. Hello to you. You're on the doc chat. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Dr. John C. Turner, thank you so much, first of all, for the work that you're doing. Thank you for making certain that we have a platform and making certain that our stories support the next generation and even those who are currently in their academic journeys. I am, as you said, Dr. Michelle Rencher, born and raised in Nassau, Bahamas. And much like your other guests, I have lived in other places. But one of the reasons why I began my journey at Columbia International University, where I earned my doctoral degree, was the ability to represent the Bahamas. I have an engineering degree, undergraduate. I have a master's degree in strategy from Western Governors University. But I always had a desire to know something more, and I wanted to make certain that people did not think that the Bahamas was only about sun, sand, and sea, but that we are therefore also all of our global brilliance. I'm a part of the phenomena called the Bahamian brain drain, and I wanted to understand why that is, why it occurs, what motivates it, and all those things about it. And so I studied at Columbia International University as we learned from Dr. Dondridge. God is good and amazing because he pushed me into something that I never thought I was ever going to do. But because of his grace, I am here and I'm so grateful for the conversation.
We appreciate it. Hey, they shouting out the Bahamas on here on the doc chat today. We love to see it. We definitely love to see it. And we got some other folks that are jumping on and letting us know they are in this game right now too. And they're about to start out the game themselves. So I appreciate y'all for checking in. We appreciate it so much. So we're going to go back to Dr. Michelle. You kind of jumped into a little bit, but go ahead and talk about a little more. Why become a doctor? Why? Why do that?
Well, first of all, every journey, especially a doctoral program, begins with something that is pulling and burning a burning desire to know more. And for me, I wanted to understand why the Bahamas was not doing certain things. Ever the optimist, I kept asking people and reading up on things. And I actually read an article back in 2018, and it talked about the perfect storm that was going to hit the Bahamas. And it was not going to be a storm that came with wind and rain like a typical hurricane. It was going to be a storm that was going to shut down our known primary industry, tourism. And it kind of struck a nerve of me saying, oh, wait a minute, like, what does this mean? And I kept asking questions and reading about it and couldn't get to the bottom of it. Well, when I enrolled in the program, I began the journey starting something totally different. But as time goes on, and if you know anything about a doctoral program, you have to be open and receptive to the process. And through the process of digging, literature review, and all of the journey, I understood the most important thing in the Bahamas is leadership. That leadership has the ability to make a change, make a difference. And so what I studied was the examination of the perspective, just the perception of effective leadership in the public sector of the Bahamas, and whether or not that kind of leadership could actually mitigate this huge problem of the Bahamian brain drain. The public sector is critical in the Bahamas because that is the only sector that was not impacted during the pandemic.
Wow. Okay.
So my brother down to the bottom there, Dr. Young, you mentioned having your pandemic baby. Well, I don't have one of those. In the Bahamas, everybody else seemed to have babies because they were also home and did not have work to go to, except the public sector. Every hotel, every restaurant, everything that the Bahamas is known for was shut down in the pandemic. And so I had the opportunity to examine people who themselves were actively engaged in industry in the public sector. And so the politicians in the Bahamas were talking about how the public sector, civil servants, not necessarily recognized for being excellent, but I recognize that they are just that. They are the bread and butter. They are the foundation of the economy. And so by interviewing them, I had the opportunity to understand what they perceive as being effective leadership and whether or not they can stop, or at least at the very least slow down, this huge problem that is impacting the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean region.
Okay, okay. Now, Dr. Young, she messing with you here, my brother. She messing with you here, man. But
I'm a
we
good
kind of want
steward of my free time, right? That's what I like to call that, of being a good steward of my free time.
Being a good steward, yes, sir. I can contest. I have
Oh,
kids too, so I understand.
oh yeah. So, Dr. Young, what made you say, man, I think I want to go for this doctor thing. I think I want to do this.
So I think it was one of the things, and I see your lineup about pre-doc program tips. So I think before anyone enters that phase, you kind of have to know your why. What's at the core of you to why you want to do this? And I can recall going to, and because I went to another school first, and so I can recall going to the first university I was at, them saying at a residency, if you're just here to see doctor in front of your name, if it's just about the ego of it, you're not going to survive,
Mhm.
right? It has to be something deeper, and I think it has to be that you want to get to, you want to solve a problem. You
Mm-hmm.
want to get a greater sense of knowledge about a problem. For me, it was not only that, but it was something personal. So, right, it goes back, I take it back to 1986 when my family moved to Maryland from Texas. I was placed in special education. And so, which was common of African American boys in the 1980s, they didn't know what to do with you. It was automatically place you in special education with no plan to get you out. And so, from second grade to 12th grade, I stayed in special education. In the 10th grade, I had a guidance counselor tell me not to waste my time to apply at a 4-year university. I
Wow.
wasn't college material. I
Wow.
was doing good in JROTC. Why don't I enlist in the military or go to trade school? It struck a nerve. I went back to my mentor, who was a nuke, right? So there's always these chains and connections to Cap off the side.
Right.
And
Hey,
he
hey, I
kind of
got
laughed
one
it
for
off.
you real quick. I got one for you. My guy, Dr. Trent Watson, he was on a few weeks ago and he's saying he went through the same thing. But keep going.
And
Keep
Dr.
going.
Watson's also from Tennessee, I might add, from Memphis.
It's a common story, right? So I used to think there was that I just was like an outlier, and I start talking to brothers, and they're like, "Nah, man, that happened to me. That happened to me." And I can tell you, I know at least 6 fraternity brothers of ours that had the exact same experience, and they
Oh,
have
wow.
terminal degrees to this day. And
Mm.
so that struck a nerve. And at some point, for me, I had it developed maybe a chip on my shoulder that said, "I'm here to take what they said I can't have." And there's a point in your process where when you get defeated enough that you need that win, that you have to start telling yourself that I'm here to take what they said I can't have.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And you get some fight in you and grit in you, and then you begin to enjoy the process as you begin to see the progress and as you begin to answer the questions to the whatever the problem you want to solve. I mean, my issue, so I've been in public service for 2+ decades in federal law enforcement, which is white male dominated. It is. And as an African American federal agent, there's some challenges in terms of my growth and ascension. There's some ceilings that have been kind of placed around me and on me. And so I wanted to know, and I examined African American male perceptions of ascension in the Federal Office of Inspector General Community. It's
Okay.
personal to me, but
Yeah.
it has proven to be a seminal work. And I was the first one that did the study. So now I'm able to go to some of these agencies that want to hear it, and most don't, and tell them that these are what we talk about DEIA. These are what the thoughts of African American males that are
Yes.
capable and deserve to be promoted. This is kind of their perception on the community and their opportunities.
That's powerful. Absolutely powerful. And I'm telling you, they showing love. We seeing doctors, future Dr. Turner. I see you out there doing great things. Hey, we appreciate you. Now, we got to make sure we go to Dr. James. What made you say, I want to do this? I want to go get a doctorate degree, knowing you got that family, knowing you're in the military. Thank you for your service. What made you say, I want to do this?
Thank you. Thank you. I was not hard pressed to go for my doctorate. I finished my master's and was like, I'm done. I am not going back to school. That's it. That's fine. It was in my relationship that burning questions, right? And I always, the question chase out more about this. I want to understand this. And it was my, you make a great doctor. You should really, you keep talking, no, I'm not going to. And the more research I did, the more I'm like, I should really look into this. I should really pursue this at the rush. That made me say, what am I doing? I'm actually doing the work that I would be doing had I just enrolled in school. So it led me to looking into doctoral, started applying, and I said, well, what direction do I want to look into when I'm trying to seek these truths? Because, like I said, narrative was a big thing for me, right? Being Black, female, I was from up north, like you, Dr. Young. I grew in the Bronx, and went to public school sector to public school sector. And once I got to public school, I saw the difference. I was told, don't bother to apply to college, it's shooting beyond your reach, all those things. It made me mad. It made me angry to the point where I was like, I'm going to show you. You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to show you.
Yes.
And I forced myself to look into higher education. I forced myself to go pursue those dreams. I didn't have that color like my kids have. They all go to public school sectors. They reap what we sow for them. I didn't have that. So growing up in that, it was a journey for me to say, you know what, I want better than when I got to the doctoral program and decided on Liberty University, like you, Dr. Turner, very Christian based organization and institution. And I'm not the most religious person. I have faith. I'm not a big religion, but I did this for a reason. Most of what I did is that the church and society play a big part in how our narrative is. I wanted to understand that from both perspectives. So I did a lot of research with them. I said, you know what? I want this to be the way that I go so I can better understand what I find out. A lot of what I'm trying to, I come from Caribbean background. I come from a Caribbean perspective. I have a background in entertainment. And a lot of what I saw was that people that were in the realm that I was in, they were getting a lot of backlash because of who they were, because of, and I wanted to understand that. I played many years of being for everybody and not understanding my own truth. And I wanted to understand how narrative played a part in that and how narrative played a part in how society perceived us. Because it is a big proponent of that. And we see that now more than ever. How we are perceived in society is a direct reflection of how society treats us. You know,
Yes.
so whether it be that you're a part of the LGBTQ community, whether it be that you are African American, whether it be that you are male, female, whatever the case may be, whatever the narrative is, society deems how they're going to treat you based on the narrative they about you, right, wrong, or indifferent. This is the
Yep.
narrative I have. Just like you, Dr. Young, they didn't know you guys. They didn't know. So you're a young Black male, automatically the narrative
Special.
says
Special
prepared
education.
for the rigors of academia.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily true, but
Mhm.
it is what they know. So we change the narrative, we can change the perception.
That's
And
it.
that's
That's
what
it.
drove me to get my doctoral degree is I
Love it.
want to change the narrative.
Oh yeah. We love it. We love it. That's why we're here on the doc chat. We're changing the narrative.
Yes.
We're showing the world people that they probably never seen before.
Oh,
And that's
yes.
why we're here today. And so we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna keep it rolling. I want to go at Dr. Michelle. Tell us a little bit about your family. What got you over that hump? What got you to that finish line of finishing your doctorate degree?
Well, I think before even the finishing, my family dynamic is I'm a mom of a blended family. I have children who are elderly or older. I shouldn't say elderly, they're older. They probably act elderly sometimes, but they're older and they're out of the house. But I have two biological children in my home and I have a dog. And so our family is extremely busy. We are into volleyball, preparing for track season. So there's a lot of driving up and down, a lot of walking laps in the parking lot, and thinking and writing notes in the margins of documents while waiting for picking up and that kind of thing. And so it's a lot of activity in my home. But if it were not for that activity, I believe, as we always say, to whom much is given, much is required. The completion of my doctoral
Yes.
degree
Yes.
was definitely set in stone years before I even began to apply for the program. My first name is Michelle, named after my father, the late Michael Wallace. My middle name comes from Simone, Nina Simone, my mom's favorite singer, the legendary truth teller.
Yeah.
And so, not knowing that my parents named me after themselves and by something that was important to them, my father is a true, or was, he's now late, a true nationalist. You're never going to find anybody who loves the Bahamas more than my dad. And so, while I love home, I went abroad and stayed abroad and lived in the wider diaspora. But when I thought about a program that was going to pay homage to both my parents and so many others in my family who are civil servants in the Bahamas, this was just that opportunity to pay homage to them. And so when I went home, had a chance to interview many people who were part of the conversation. When it came time to the completion conversation, they were also a part of the completion process. And so when it came time for my actual defense, my family literally went on a fast, literally a physical and emotional and a spiritual fast. My mother got women in her neighborhood to turn down their plates, and they weren't going to eat until I made the phone call that I was official, it was done. And so I wasn't even so focused on crossing the stage. My truth was making certain that I had the opportunity to speak out loud and to tell what I had experienced, and to tell, as Dr. Nika has said, to tell that narrative. I was told in my doctoral program that, oh, well, we know about the Bahamas. We've been there before. We've been there on vacation, or it's on our bucket list. We all know the Bahamas is sunshine and sea, but nobody knew what the civil servants, and nobody knew but the Bahamian brilliance that lives around the diaspora. And so when I had the chance to write and get ready for defense, everybody in my immediate family and my wider extended family throughout the islands of the Bahamas literally went on a fast, because I am the first person to be the doctor in the family. However, I am not the last, because I have three cousins who are in the pipeline right now. So I'm excited to say that I have one getting ready for her proposal, two others getting ready for final defense. But I was the first, and there are many more coming right behind. And so, while in my immediate family, I have parents who both finished undergraduate, both of whom studied throughout the Caribbean region and in the U.S. Academics was always a part of the journey for me in my growing up. Both of my parents were academicians. They both taught at the University of the Bahamas and throughout the Bahamas at the university level. So studying that kind of experience and being a part of the school journey was not foreign to me. Always been pushed into academics. But to be pushed into a doctoral program because you're being drawn into it almost out of a desire, as Dr. Nika has said, to change the narrative. And so when it came down to the completion of my journey, not only was I going to bring them along for the journey, it wasn't enough for me to have their names in my thank you note. In the actual, that was not enough for me. I had to make certain that they were going to be a part of the journey. So for me, it was a lesson of love, to make certain that everybody in the world, whoever pulls my name out, Dr. Rencher 2022, whenever they read that study, they're going to know how important the Bahamas is to the narrative.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Dr. James, let me get you put up here. Sorry, we had a little feedback on your end, so we're all good now, but
Okay.
you're finishing up, but you had a family too. And this is a dynamic that is very common for a lot of doctorate degree seekers, but yours was even more amazing with all the work that you were doing in your life. Well,
Is is it echoing?
Nope, you're good. We got you now. We got you now. It's just sometimes when it's somebody else is talking, it might echo a bit, but you're fine. You're okay. We got you now.
So yes, so like you were, yes, there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on during my doctoral journey. Uh, just like Dr. saying, just doing it with the children, but they were my driving force to finish out. They were my driving force to complete my doctoral journey. They were up with me late at night. They were up with me early in the morning. My wife pushed it. She would be like, "Babe, you got this. Talk to me." They would cheer me on. They were my biggest inspiration. They were my why. They were the reason I was this, because in my own narrative and understanding my own truth, I knew that they played a big part in that. Well, you know what? If I'm going to get this work out, they're going to be the driving force to help me do this. And I know that I was setting it, Dr. Michelle. It's an example that you're setting for those that are coming behind you. You're not just doing it and pulling that ladder up. You're doing it and you're laying that foundation for the next group to come. And to watch my kids sit there, and now they may not have been what the next step of academia is. Now they're sitting there planning out college tours. And, we have one that's heading off to college in the fall. And the two that's behind him already talking about, hey, listen, when I'm ready for college, when I'm going on college tours, when I'm going, so they're ready to step into that fold of higher academics. And I couldn't be prouder of that. And I know that my journey has played a big part. Um, I'm also not the last to go for a doctoral degree. My sister started. She's a clinical psychologist. She started.
Nice.
She would have been the first. She stopped. Was just working in her field. There was no need at that point. I finished. She called me. She says, "I'm going back."
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
like, "Wow, boom!" You know, it was amazing to see that, because I just thought that was it. She was, "I'm not doing this. It's driving me up a wall. I can't do this anymore." And see her jump right back in it and say, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna finish. And now she's in there. She's in that mode. She's working hard. And it's so funny because I've seen now since I've seen so many friends, associates, colleagues that I would never have imagined call me and said, "Hey, look, I'm starting my doctoral process.
Wow. Wow.
Advice."
Good,
I,
good.
I went, wow, like where's this come from? I didn't think that it was such an impact. It is. The narrative has changed.
That's it. That's
You
it.
know, there are more
Yeah.
doing this, and we're doing families with jobs, with businesses, but we're doing it.
That's it. That's it. Hey, you up, Frat? Dr. Young,
Yes, sir.
tell me, how'd you get to the finish line and what was it like getting to that finish line?
So whether I knew it or not, the finish line was already proclaimed, right? Scripture says, Jeremiah 29:11 says, I have a plan for you, not to
Yes.
hurt you, but to grow you, to make you new, to make you something else, right? So prior to me ever having gone through special ed, me ever having done it, God had an order. There was an ordained, there were steps already mapped out. Once I realized that those steps existed,
Mhm.
I was good to go. Right. Once I realized that, and it really just kicked in. He got me. It was, and it just became. I began to walk into it, into the vision, into the dream a little bit more. It began to come full circle, and really, you know, this it's never done. It's never an individual project. While you might feel like you're going through it alone, because it is a pretty lonely process at times. I have an amazing wife. I have an amazing spouse, and she held everything down with a brand new baby to let me do what I needed to do to finish. Right, like literally, my son was born November 27th of 2020. I defended on April 8th of 2021. So I was in the last. I'm in the last. I'm up. I'm in the last stages, and so she just, bless her heart. She just he wearing her out. But between her, my mother came to visit, my in-laws. It takes a village. And Dr. Rencher spoke of the fast, and the Bible says when two or more agree, when you begin to touch and agree, you activate the power of
Yes.
the Holy Ghost in a
Yes.
whole new way. And so there were people praying for me. There were people advocating for me. I had friends that had finished and they were cheering me on. You have to have that village, but it takes absolutely an understanding mate that is your co-pilot in that journey. That plane doesn't get off the tarmac without that person really holding you down and supporting it. And I always tell people, when I graduated, one of the things I did was they always talk about giving spouses a push gift when your wife has a baby. My wife got push and a pull gift because she had the baby, but she pulled me through this. She absolutely pulled me through this. So, put some coin in your pocket, save up, right, and celebrate the folks that really help you in that process because nobody does it. Nobody does it alone. So I think it's about momentum. I think all the doctors here can agree. Once you get momentum in that process and you start seeing the success and you start getting your edits back with less red marks, right? You start feeling empowered, right? You get that thing back and it's on the margin, the track changes are limited. You like,
I
okay,
can do that.
your
I can
boy
do
getting
that.
somewhere, right? And so you begin to feel empowered. And it also, listen, the other thing that really gets you through this is having a great committee, having a really good committee. The first institution I was at, I went through a whole Dr. Regalado, who was on a couple weeks ago, said she went through a whole program and did. I had done 65 credits at another institution, a whole program, and it just was not working out. I had two chairs, and both of them were like, "Yeah, I don't think you write well enough to finish this program." After they got all my money for 65 credits, you don't write well enough to finish. And we had 3 or 4 different methodologists that said, "Oh, once the chair would get you half a little bit on this chapter, the methodologist said, I don't really like that. You get a new one, start over." Nah, he didn't write well enough. And so I went through that, took some time off, and then recalibrated at a new institution with someone who literally I felt believed in me. I sent writing sample to the director of the new program, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. I think you're fine. There's some things we can fine tune, but we'd love to, have you." And it was, listen, God ordered the steps, so He knew what I was going to
Yes.
go through.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. That's it.
That's it.
We are here on the doc chat. I'm telling you, y'all shocking the world out here. They like, y'all went through that? That's what y'all went through?
It's
Oh,
I see the face, the emoji, like, yeah,
But that
real.
is common. But that's so very common.
It is.
It
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 is.
is.
In my program, the showstopper for me was I was asked by my dean of the program, what kind of tool are you going to use to analyze your data? And so they were pushing a variety of software tools, and I stood my ground and I said, well, no, I'm studying the perception of Bahamians. There's not going to be a tool. It's about the narrative. There's not going to be any software that's going to pull out the unique and even the common perspectives. There's not a tool. As a native Bahamian, I am the tool. The researcher is the primary tool in this experience. And I was told, well, you shouldn't be afraid of software. Technology is your friend. Well, that's when you have to be as Dr. Young is saying, be bold about who you are and whose you are. And I had to remind him, well, listen, I appreciate you saying that, but I have an engineering degree, so I'm good with technology. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's not my struggle point. I'm just trying to help you to understand I am here for the journey. And Dr. Young, my son's name is Jeremiah. So yes, sir, I totally understand that when you have a plan over your life, there is a story that's over
Come on
you.
now.
And it's from now until the days go long.
That's right.
It's not going to end today. And the journey is, yes, it's a journey. But to give you guys a little bit of insight too, one of the lessons that I learned to be humble in the process. Even though I was bold in that experience, in that discussion, I did have an opportunity to go ahead and dial it back sometimes. And my mother kept reminding me of my grandmother's favorite statement. And she's long since passed, but the statement was never so true than in this program. And she would say in her Bahamian accent, who got the fresh meat and who got the fridge?
Oh, wow.
And she said, you the fresh meat and they got the fridge.
Wow.
She said, and when you are the freshman, and we've all been to the grocery store, whether you are vegan or not, we've all been to the grocery store or butcher shop. If you buy some meat, you got to get it in the fridge real quick.
See?
And if they are the refrigerator, you need to humble yourself, bring the bass out your voice, and have a spirit that is teachable. Make certain that you are walking in like Esther and say, show me what you need me to do. Because this is so far out of the space of what I've ever done. I'm a technologist. I work in strategy. I don't work in narratives, and I certainly do not work in qualitative and quantitative and statistics, and not my wheelhouse. That's not my ministry. But I had to learn it. But I was able to tell the story, and they all knew, listen, she's going to do the work. My takeaway and my goal for myself was that every single class, I didn't want to make anything below a 91. Because I was concerned that if I get to that finish line, what's going to push me over the finish line is because she has been an A student throughout. And so my husband was like, you don't really got to get a 91 in every assignment. Yes, I do. Because this is not my strength. This is not something that I'm accustomed to doing. So I got to really push extra harder. So I did the work. But it was a lot of prayers, a lot of fasting, a lot of family members and friends and people from around the globe who spoke into my life and who were like, "You, if anybody could do this, you got this."
That's it.
And I think for students out there who are getting ready to enroll, who are in their first class, who are in their first year, regardless of where you came from in academic space, because I was not special education. I was in the middle of the road. I had a good time in school. I didn't really study that much, but I could have studied better. But I was never special education. However, I did have persons who looked down on me, who gave me limitations. And this was an opportunity for me to say, listen, even if you are that C or that B student, you can still cross that finish line.
That's true.
You still can. It just takes commitment. It takes dedication, and it takes doing the work.
That's it. That's it. We are here on the Doc Chat. I'm telling you, Doc is on fire right now. They are on fire, and I am loving every minute of it. Now, you know what time it is. This is our fun time. We have fun time to share some of these great moments that we have. So I'm going to start with Dr. Michelle. Let me see what we can get up here. See what we can do.
Today we celebrate with over 340 graduates, 52 in doctoral programs, 166 in graduate programs, and 124 undergraduate programs.
At this point in the ceremony, somebody gets up and says, please hold your applause until the end.
Hold on. I think we might have got somebody here. Hold on. This right here.
That's it.
Tell us about this moment right here. What did this moment mean to you? And they shared this. This is worldwide right here.
Yes.
Columbia International.
I think the most important moment for me was the fact that my husband and my two kids were in the audience. My mom was watching. They had a watch party in Nassau. I was a watch party in Freeport. There was a watch party in Florida. And for me, it was about making certain that When the shofar was blown,
Mm.
for me, my heart was moved. I felt like, wow, when I began this journey, who would have thunk that a girl from Nassau, my island is 21 miles long and 7 miles wide. None of this makes sense. I drive more miles to get to my office than is the length and breadth of my entire island. And for me to be able to cross the stage, not only for undergrad, but for graduate school, but now for a doctoral degree, is a testament to what you can do if God says yes. When I began the journey, I kept asking, I kept praying, and a cousin of mine said to me, have you prayed the prayer in Samuel? The prayer in Samuel says, shall I pursue? Shall I climb that mountain? Shall I climb that hill? David was the king. He had been anointed. And his question, and you see my eyes tearing up even in that picture. But the question that I said, and I kept praying again and again, was, shall I pursue? When I got my first grades back, I was like, okay, I'm getting into stride, but shall I pursue? Should I go on further? When I got the first set of edits, you guys talking about those red line edits, that was not my narrative. That was not my story. My story was I had almost 400 pages, and they were like, that's too big. Ain't nobody gonna read this. So I had to swallow my pride and cut it in half.
We'll chop it up.
All the way down and swallow my pride, because I kept thinking this is so important. How can you take away and cut down and dissect? But I kept on saying, shall I pursue? And every time I prayed, shall I pursue? My pastor in the Bahamas, my pastor here in Tennessee, people kept telling me, yes, you need to continue pursuing, because there are people across the planet who need to not only hear your voice and hear your accent and see your tears whenever you're crying and recognize the passion in your voice, but recognize that there is something in you that if you can do this, then they can do it too.
Wow.
And so for me, crossing the stage demonstrated for my children that not that they could do doctoral, because they may not want to do it. That may not be their journey. But whatever their this is, that they can do it too. You can do something more than the condition to which you were born in. And so if you were born in a certain situation, financially, academically, there is more than you can do. And so for me, it just said, you know what? There's more that he has in store for me. There are many more stages to cross. There are many more conversations to have. There are many more doors to walk through and seats to sit in. But I am so grateful for the journey that as the Bahamas turns 50 years old this year, I was a baby when the Bahamas became an independent country. And so as my country, I am young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not going to miss my shot.
We love it.
That's from Hamilton. That's not from me.
For sure, for sure. We're going to bring up you, Dr. James. Let's get it up. Oh, yeah. Fly.
Yeah. That walk is it.
Tell us about crossing that stage, getting done. What did it mean to you? What does it mean to even see these pictures even today?
Oh man, it's thrilling, it's exhilarating, and I can't even put into words what I was feeling. But when I say emotional, emotional. I went through a lot. I went through a lot to get this done. I had a lot of backing, a lot of support from my family, my wife, my kids, my shipmates. You know,
You see
I'm
these
in the
hills
Navy,
right here,
so
folks?
I had
Yes.
it. I had that background, that backing from them. My sorors, I had that backing from them. So it was a cheerlead of, hey, you can do this. We're so proud of you. You made it to the finish line. And I started to remember my why. As I crossed that finish line, I stood in my why. Like you said, Dr. Rencher, you know, when you were going through it, and Dr. Young, you had to fight that battle. I had to fight that battle while I was in the program. Like, no, I'm going to stand on this. This is my platform. This is what I'm doing. This is my research. This is my why. This is why I came into the program. I'm going to stand on it. 10 toes down. I'm standing on it. That's my advice to anybody seeking a doctoral program. When you're going into this, understand from the beginning, from the very from the onset, what is your why? What is your purpose of doing this? What is your mission? What is it you're trying to accomplish? And stand firm in that. Because at the end of the day, you are the subject matter expert in this.
Yes.
You are the one leading this way, and nobody's going to tell you, "Hey, I don't think that's the way you want to go with this." This is the research you're doing. You're bringing this to the forefront for others to understand what it is that's going on. So, who can tell you how you should research your topic? So stand on it. Be firm in it. Be humble, but be firm in it, right? Stand 10 toes down and understand your why.
Yeah.
And I understood my why. And crossing that stage, I knew that I had stood my ground and I saw it through, right?
Absolutely powerful. My frat, Dr. Young,
Yes, sir.
no, we got to get you up in here. What was it finishing up, getting done? What do all these moments mean to you?
Well, first, I see them saying, "Oh, hey, listen, my man is rough." You say all until you spent a couple days with him. That joker is rough. He is all boy and full of energy and testing all my Jesus every day. So
That's his job.
that's his job, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when I think about kind of graduation day, when I'm up at the stage and I'm walking across and that's Dr. Ken Engel, the president of Southeastern. Oddly enough, his wife, Dr. Karen Engel, was my chair. So
Wow.
I think I was probably telling them there that Dr. Engel, that his wife was my chair and had a good experience with her. I think before they call my name and I'm getting ready to walk across, a rush of emotion comes to you about everything that happened before then, everything that took to get to that point. And I found myself kind of sitting on a couple of things. I started thinking about my ancestors, my grandmothers, my maternal grandmother who was a domestic, who was a housekeeper for a prominent dentist in the Fort Worth area, and what she did and how hard she loved folks and took care of everybody and let everybody stay with us. She was always trying to help somebody get a leg up, even if she didn't have a leg up, and nobody gave her those opportunities. And I thought about my paternal grandmother, who was a sharecropper in Alabama that raised 7 kids when her husband died by herself. And I started thinking about all that that's built in me, right? There's something in me that comes from greatness, that comes from, and this is why they did what they did, so that I could see this day, right? So when you start putting that in perspective, Maya Angelou said, "I am the hope and the dream of the slave," right? I am my ancestors' wildest dream right now. And I'm thinking of all those things, that's why I did what I did. And that's how I got there. And then I start thinking of changing the narrative for my son, right? My son, some of the challenges that I had, he won't have, right? My son grows up in he's what I would probably call privileged by most accounts. And he's going to have a different perspective. He has parents, both parents have terminal degrees. There's a difference around what he's going to see and the expectation. And I believe that this was not just for me, but it was, and I put this was in my dedication. This is for little Black and brown boys everywhere of color that have been told that you can't do it, you're less than. I'm going to be the focal point. Look at me, and I'm gonna help you get through this. Look at me. Keep your eyes. Listen, one of the greatest things we can ever do, if we want to fail, is take our eyes off Jesus. In that boat, man, Peter took the eyes off Jesus. That's when he began to sink. When he was walking, take your eyes off Jesus. That's when you begin to fail. So I want to be maybe a motivation point or a tension point for young brothers to say you can do this. If I can do this, and I joke that I'm a career C student. I'm probably like a career B student, but I was a absolute social ambassador at every level of my college experience.
Same here. Every party, right? Every party.
Yes.
Doing it.
I'm a Leo. If you've ever done a disc assessment, I'm a high I, right? I'm in the mix, right? But one thing that about this process too, Dr. Rencher mentioned about the humility that comes with it. It's designed, right, to break you down and build you back up. Yeah. It's like pledging. It is. In fact, I saw this before. I knew that, but I'm like, I've seen this before. Like I'm getting hazed all over again. That's what this is. right? I'm getting hazed all over. But this process is designed to break you all the way down and
And
build you
build you
back up.
back up. That's right.
That's it. That's
That's
it.
right.
That's it. I'm telling y'all, these are some incredible doctors that overcame some incredible odds. And I'm proud of y'all. Definitely proud of y'all. Before we go ahead and wrap up, I want to make sure we let the good folks know we are taking these stories international. We're looking to put them into a book called The Doctor Talker. And if you would like to submit your abstract, please do that by April 29th. That's this weekend. We would love to possibly have your amazing story in this book. And we're going to look to take this book all around the country, all around the world. We would love to do tours. We would love to bring to your city these incredible stories of these individuals and the work that they did to become doctors. So look out for that in the early fall. We are excited for this process. So we're going to go with Dr. James as we're starting to bring us on home. Tell us right now, you got the doctorate, you overcame so much, you got the family. What would you tell the next bunch of doctors who are parents,
Oh,
steps they should take so they can get to their doctor finish line?
don't stop. Don't ever quit. No matter how hard the road looks, no matter how daunting it may be, you feel like there's no way out. There's no help, there's no reprieve, there's no you got to have that fortitude to push through. You have to have that fortitude to push through. You have to remember your why. Understand what you're doing this for and who you're doing this for. And know that no matter what, God got you. He brought you this far.
Yes.
He's not going to let you go now, right? My mother always used to tell me, you know what? When you fall, you can't go any further than the ground.
That's
If you
true.
understand that,
You good?
you cannot go any further than the ground. So you fall and you're going to stumble along this journey. Trust and believe you're going to stumble along this journey. You're going to get those papers come back to you and say, try again, or this ain't it. You're going to see those red marks all throughout. You're going to be like, what am I doing with my life? If you're a worker, if you're a full-time worker, a mom, a wife, a husband, you're going to get to those nights where you're like, I just got off work. I've just finished with the kids. I'm doing dissertation prep and it's 4 o'clock in the morning when I look up and oh my God, I got to be in the shower at 5 to be at work by 6. What am I doing with my life?
Wow.
It is in those moments that you have to understand my why.
Yeah.
Why, and stick to it. Perseverance, perseverance, perseverance. Know your fortitude and push through it.
That's
You
powerful.
got this.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Dr. Rencher, you're
To
there.
add
You're
to
at the
add
finish
on
line.
to add on to the why, it's the same thing, yes. But for me, my why was if I didn't finish, what would happen?
Right. Yes.
If
Come
I
on.
if I didn't do it, what would happen? Now,
Mhm.
most people will say, "Well, weren't you in school? You didn't finish it."
Mm, mm.
So take the shame factor out of the conversation. But because I was studying a problem that I believe, unless it's mitigated, the Bahamas is going to continue having challenges when it comes to national development. So I'm studying a topic that is true to me. It's my lived experience. I'm a part of the problem. I wanted to be a part of the solution. I want to be a part of fixing it. Yes, inspiring, yes, motivating, absolutely. But this is a national problem and it's really and truly a regional problem. And I figured, you know what? What do I have to lose? Some sleep, absolutely. Some gray hair, as you can see. My hair was black when I began, so my hair color completely changed. But for me, as Dr. Anika has said, the why, for me, it was if I didn't finish, then what was going to happen? What's going to happen to my tiny country? And I want to make certain that we are on the map, not just for being a problem and a burden to the rest of the world, but that we are a part of fixing the problems. We are a part of fixing our problems for ourselves and getting towards national development. But I also wanted to make certain that I was able to bring my faith along and be at the very forefront of the program. Dr. Young talked about being in one school and then transferring schools. It took me 18 months to figure out which school I wanted to go to. I didn't have time and money to go to 2 different schools, but I wanted to go to the correct school for me. And I needed to go to a school that was going to allow me to bring my faith along, not just hide it underneath my breastplate or hide it in my backpack. I wanted it to be in the forefront of the program. Columbia International University allowed me to have my faith at the forefront of every single assignment. I was able to quote scripture in my dissertation, and I did.
Yes, same here.
I quoted scripture. I quoted scripture in my defense. I had 3 foundational persons of the scripture at the foundation of my defense. When they asked, why is this important to the kingdom of heaven? I was able to proudly say Nehemiah heard from a distance that something was going on in his home country, and he knew something had to be done. He went outside his comfort zone, and he decided to go ahead and build a wall. He was not a mason. He was a sommelier. I'm a technologist. I work in technology until this day. I still work in technology. But to go outside your comfort zone, outside of your skill set, and do something that you never done before, and like Esther, to call for a fast because this bigger than me. Yeah. And these people trying to tell me no, and I know if they give me a microphone, that's going to be the end of it.
That's it.
I will shut it down. So shut it down.
Truth. Stand in your truth, sis.
10 toes down, but it was fingers and toes for me. And it was a matter of saying, who else can we do to make this happen? I carried them with Joshua. In the Bahamas, our first prime minister was Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinley, and we call him our Black Moses because he brought us out of us being enslaved, being out of majority rule country, and into the era of independence. Yeah. But as we in the Bahamas say, Joshua has to arrive. And Joshua 1 says, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now is the time for Joshua and the generation to stand up and do what I tell you to do.
Come on now.
And so since he gave me a platform to say, you know something, you cannot be shame of me, because if you shame of me, I can be shame of you.
Right, that's
and
it.
So when they gave me an opportunity to speak, I'm saying, you know what? This is a Nehemiah prophecy. This is an Esther saying, you know what, I can call for the nations to turn your plates down. And Joshua said, here I am. I'm the next generation.
That's it.
And we're going to make a change. And so for students out there, even if your university does not require you to find scripture or does not require you to necessarily be able to claim your why, I encourage you to use this as your journey of faith. Right. Their intent is to break you down. Their intent is not necessarily to pass you through. You are going to have to defend why you deserve this. Yes. I encourage you, if you are in a plan of defense, understand the defense mechanism is in your spinal column. It comes between your 2 ears, and you have all you need in your heart. Push through and defend. Allow them to tell you whatever you to do. Listen, have a teachable spirit. Listen, find that data, find that information, find the most obscure literature that you can find. If you can't find it, call somebody who will help you find it. That's and you can find that information, but find it and defend with all your heart, and know that you will do what you intended to do, what you were born to do. Amen. In this season, I don't even know where I'm supposed to be, but I have every confidence to know that when the time is right, he will shift me into position, and then I will say, oh, okay. That's what you're working with. And so at the end of the day, Dr. Young, Dr. Anika, Dr. Turner, I am so grateful for the opportunity to let the world know we here and we ain't going nowhere.
That's it. And Dr. Young, and take your time, man, because I knew y'all was going to be full of great knowledge and wisdom. So I added a few more minutes. Dr. Young, take your time, brother.
Please, sir.
Tell us the next generation of doctors.
Listen, I don't know whether I want to take up an offering for Dr. Rencher, or whether I want to offer to be your campaign manager.
I will take a wave offering. I would take a wave offering right now. I'll take a wave offering. Bring it in. Bring it. Let's go.
Love all y'all right now. All y'all right. Look at this. Look at this.
When you run for Prime Minister of the Bahamas, call me. I work on your campaign, bro.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Exactly. The generation, we here. We here.
What you got to say, Dr. Young? What you got to say?
So, I guess I'm going to give a practical tool, a resource first, and that's just be resourceful. Pull in as you're getting, if you are in that family mode and you've got newborns or little ones, and you need to pull in all your resources. Just as you get on Google Scholar and EBSCOhost and everywhere else to dig up research and information, I really encourage you to pull all your resources together, because you're going to need it, right? So you're going to need your sister, your brother, your
Yes.
cousin, your friend to watch your kids here and there, so you can get a couple hours of work in. You're going to need to really reconfigure your time management on, especially in that, like, when I start thinking about those last couple months between when my son was born and when I graduated, it's a fog to me, because really most nights I was up until 6 or 7 in the morning. Like, it literally is I feel punch drunk when I think about it. Like, literally, have you ever been so tired that just to place a thought or write an email or a sentence takes you like an hour because you're falling asleep?
Oh,
I go to
yes.
falling asleep and I have a line of X's on my keyboard, on my paper, because my hand fell asleep on the key. And I'm literally just, and then you wake up, right? And so
Yeah.
just being able to get yourself in a rhythm. One of the best recommendations ever been made to me, Dr. Michael Gary, who was one of my chapter brothers from Epsilon, one of our Kappa brothers, he literally wrote his dissertation top to bottom and finished in 9 months because he got on a schedule. He wrote every night from 10 to 2 a.m., 5 days a week. And he stuck to that. He committed to that schedule, and he literally wrote his dissertation in 9 months.
Wow.
Because he got on the schedule. And so what a lot of us don't do is we get sidetracked, and you know, the pandemic was going on, so Netflix and chill was, I'm like, a Netflix movie come on, I'm watching Ozark and I need to be in there working on this paper. I'm hanging out with my wife and popcorn watching. I'm like, this is getting good. Keep going. I'm binging Ozark. Right? I need to be doing. So, you know, have some resources lined up, really dial in, but just know that, you know, it is so. Right? It is so.
Yes.
It has been written. You will finish this. And as Dr. James and Dr. Rencher said, quitting ain't an option.
Right.
Because you still owe them people their money.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That student loan payment still coming. If you borrow money to go, you still got to do that, right? You still owe them people their money. And if someone else paid for you to go, don't make them a liar on their investment.
And also, not only the money. Don't let people's prayers go in vain.
Sure.
Yes, because your family is
they are
rooting for
just
you.
as invested.
Yeah, they are vested. They are invested
Just as invested.
in
All the time that you don't spend
Yeah.
with your kids.
That's right.
Glued on
What
the
was it
computer
for?
screen. Make them don't make them out to be a liar, because my kids, once I defended, the day after, their schools were calling me, and I was like, I wonder what happened. My kids went to school and they were like, my mommy is a doctor. My mommy is a doctor.
I went through that too. Where it was, my mom's getting her doctorate. My wife was like, every time I write, I'm going to throw this computer. Oh no, because I'm telling everybody my wife is a doctor. So I was like, don't do that. Because I'm about to quit right now. So don't quit.
Absolutely.
Pushing through.
Yeah. And you're talking about the kids, and we kind of want to go in that. And I just want to hear just real quick from each of you all, when you got done, what was the greatest thing you either heard from your child or from your spouse when you got done? That will encourage somebody watching right now who might watch this recording to know that all of this is going to be worth it when they get done. Dr. Rencher, what was the greatest thing you heard?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm the mom of a blended family. So I have middle school, elementary in my house, and I have older kids someplace else, and they live on their own, and they've got their own lives and families. And one of the elders, the older kids, said to me, I'm going back to school. And I just thought, like, not just, he's, Navy and done all this stuff, and he's trying to change his career. And I thought, okay, I see this. My son and my daughter, who were in the house with me at graduation, they were walking around campus and, taking poses and taking selfies. But my son says, Mommy, when I go to college, Dr. Anika, it's that feeling of when I go. And they're in middle school. And so for me to say, you know what, the bug of learning was birthed in me very, very early on. As I mentioned, both my parents are academicians. So university experience and studying was never a new thing. This level of studying was new by all measure. Right. But for me to see my children recognize how important it is. A girlfriend gave me a Dr. Michelle Rencher nameplate. and my daughter polishes it. She's like religiously polishing it because she's like, "Mommy, we got to keep it clean." And I'm like, "I know, right?" Because it's important that we have these symbols of the finish. My
Yeah.
mom was unable to travel for graduation, but once she came, we went outside and took a whole bunch of headshots and a picture with her putting the hood over me because she wanted to experience that hood.
That's powerful.
And when I go back to the Bahamas this July, I'm going to my father's headstone and put that hood on him.
Powerful.
Because really and truly, had he been born in a different time in a different place, this journey would have been his.
Wow.
He was way more academic than me. He's way more, I mean, literally, the man had chemistry and agronomy. And, that's a whole lot going on right there. But I plan to put that hat and that tassel and that hood on his headstone and just feel that moment of like, wow, yeah, daddy, we did
That's
this.
that's incredible.
So my kids are excited and they just want to know what's next. So,
Oh, yeah.
and so that's it.
I'm telling you. Dr. Young, greatest thing you heard completing your doctorate degree from either your spouse. I know the little one can't talk yet, but I'm sure he's still
He
getting
wasn't
some
talking
cheers.
then. He's talking a lot now. Right? He's
Wow.
two and some
Good
change.
stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, he's talking a lot now. So my in full transparency, my wife is an ordained minister and extremely gifted and talented. And what I didn't always know, and she kind of shared with me after the fact, she was, I knew you'd be fine because she would pray for me when I was asleep. She would lay hands on me in my sleep.
Ooh.
There's power in that. She activated some things when I didn't even know what was going on. And so when I realized after the fact that she was just adding on to what was already so, man, I was humbled and I was thankful and just the support I have from my family, the pride, my mother who's actually been my motivation, went back to school in her 40s and in a decade got a bachelor's and 2 master's degrees after being a teenage mother. And so she, it's just something that runs in my veins. So I just was thankful and humbled at all that had been invested in me from those closest to me, and hope that I had the capacity and ability to do the same for my family and to motivate and some of my younger cousins and folks in my family that they'll take heed and hear and above all else trust God that his
Absolutely.
plan for you and that his understanding of who he sees you to be is something. Here's what I would tell students that are going through it. When you hit that, especially when you're getting near the end there, be real bold. Do something a little outside of convention. And what I mean by that, I was still writing, hoping to get approved to defend. And we were getting there on the calendar. I ordered my cap and gown. Before I was approved for graduation, I ordered my cap and gown.
That was my husband's talk to me.
And I
too.
put
My
it
husband told me
and
the
I put
same
it on.
thing.
Yeah, I ordered it, and and one day it was sitting in the closet and get close, and I put it on, and I took a picture in it. Begin to see before I was done.
Yes.
I ordered my degree frame.
Wow.
With no degree in it. You got to see it, right?
Yes.
You got to see it. So you got to
Absolutely.
activate some things, and you got to have the faith to do that, and
Speak
the
those
boldness
things. Speak those
and
things.
confirmation in your spirit to do that. So that's what I did. And that's
I like that. And Dr. James, kind of bring us on home. Greatest thing you heard from your spouse or from the kids. What was it when you got done that you was like, this was all about?
I think seeing that what I tried to put out there for my family, for my kids, for my life was coming into fruition. I'm a firm believer of not letting anybody dictate to you who or what or how you're going to be. Don't tell me what I'm capable of or what I'm not capable of because I'm going to show you otherwise. And that's a big proponent for me. Again, that's where I study. That's where I dive in head first. I'm an anomaly all the way around. I joined the Navy at 39 years old. I'm 46. That's unheard of. So right there, you're already going into it that, hey, look, I'm going to do it because you said I couldn't. I went for my doctorate, same thing. I'm going to do it because you said I couldn't do it. 5 kids. I'm going to do it because you said I couldn't. For my kids to turn around and look at me and say, you've inspired me to be greater than myself.
Yeah.
That's all I could ask for. That's all I could ask for. Keep doing what it is that others say you can't, because you can. You can. We put limitations on ourselves.
Yes.
No one can tell you what you can and cannot do. You stop yourself from achieving your goals. And if I could tell anybody out there that's seeking, that's thinking of seeking a degree and has been told, it's not the right time, you don't have the money, you don't have the skill sets, you don't listen. I've heard all of that and then some. Your topic is too controversial. Nobody's going to really want to listen to that. My topic was as controversial as they come. Stick to what you're trying to do. See it through. See it through. And once I let my kids know that and I saw them doing that, that was the proudest moment of my life. Even beyond the doctoral degree, that was the proudest moment of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's who we have here, folks. We got the doctor parents, Dr. Rencher, Dr. James, Dr. Young. I'm telling you, the love that we was getting all in the comments today, we appreciate you. Mrs. Dean, we appreciate you. The love that y'all got today is incredible. I'm telling you, if you didn't feel the Holy Ghost,
Yes.
I don't know what you're doing, because God was in this talk tonight, and I'm a firm believer. And I had it on my stove back there in Jesus' name. This was God ordained today. I appreciate y'all so much. These doctors are going to the next level. Dr. James, I know she got a show coming out. Watch out for Dr. Rencher, Dr. Young. They got some great things coming out. Connect with them on LinkedIn. That's where they found me. You're doing great things all the way around. So I'm telling y'all stay blessed, stay humble. I'm gonna take that with you, Dr. James. I'm telling you, these doctors need to stay humble out here. I'm telling you, because when you get here, people don't realize there's more to come.
There's more.
There is so much more.
levels.
So much more.
More levels.
And thank you, Dr. Turner, for having us on your show.
Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so very
Absolutely.
much. Appreciate you, sir.
Everybody for tuning in. Appreciate y'all so much. And until next week on the Dot Chat, remember this. Think about this right now. May is the month of the move. That's what God has said in my spirit. So if you need to move, you need to make that move. Make it right now.
Okay. I receive that. I receive it.
God bless y'all. Until next time. Peace out.
All right.
You guys take care. Thank you so much. Bye.